Joining us now is our good friend Guy Berkebile, and Guy is the owner of Guy Chemical in Pennsylvania, a state Trump needs to win, by the way, again. We think we're in pretty good shape there, but not great shape, so we'll see how it plays out. And he testified before the House U.S. Ways and Means Committee with a subcommittee on select revenue measures on the impact of the Tax Cuts and Job Act, and that was only about a week ago, February 13th. And Guy founded his company in 1995. Here's what he did. See, this is true entrepreneurism. He took out a loan for $70,000 and used $80,000 of his personal savings, mortgaged his home to start his chemical company, literally putting his family's livelihood and financial security at risk. Now, those of us that have started companies like me that have done the same thing and put their companies at risk, their families at risk, and had no money for a long time, and I still drive around in a Saturn with 160,000 miles on it, just to remind me of the dark times. We get it. By the way, this tax cut for us, it has allowed me to hire people, buy another radio station. It's been fabulous, doing exactly what it said it would do. And Guy is with us now. Guy Berkebile. Hey, Guy, great to have you with us.
Hey, thank you. Good morning.
All right, so Guy, I love these stories, right? You get up one day, you're an exec. You get up one day and said, you know what? I have this vision. I want to buy a company. I got $80,000 in savings. Let me take all that. Your family goes bananas. Then you mortgage your house for $70,000. You got $150. Everything is on the line, and there's no safety net. And you're signing the front, not the back of checks, and dealing with what? Government regulation, over taxes, right? All the obstacles that dissuade you from starting a business and hiring people, right? I mean, that's basically the story we all have.
Yeah, that's correct. And then, also, whenever you start a company, as you know, we act as basically the collection arm of the government. If you have an employee who doesn't pay child support or doesn't pay a tax bill, who do they go to? They go to his employer to collect the money and pay it into the government, because it's easier to have us do it than it is for them to go after the individual.
I know if they have a judgment or something, and I think there's a couple of states, Guy, in America now. There's a couple of states that they don't allow that, like they don't allow, what is it called, garnishment, and I think Pennsylvania is one of them. Texas might be another. There's like 3 or 4 states. And basically, that's what their state legislators said. They're like, look, if you want to hire somebody, their past debts is not your business, right? No garnishment, right. Can't do it. You get government or authorities, lawyers can figure it out. They can take their home or whatever, but your employer's not going to get in the middle of it, nor are we going to be taking their money away for their family. So Guy also, he had no employees for 8 months. I mean, this story, anybody that owns a business, I just want you to listen to Guy's story, because all of us have been through this. So he had no employees for 8 months. He operated the business at a financial loss for approximately 2.5 years. Does that sound familiar, Colleen? I think that's about what we did. Furthermore, he didn't take a salary for 5 years. That sounds familiar. Working a full-time job on the side to make ends meet and put food on the table, and in the end, he had to mortgage his home a total of 7 times to keep his chemical company afloat. How did you make it?
Well, John, I'm just basically one of your normal greedy business owners. All the money is going into my pocket, right? So and I worked a full-time job during the day. I'd go out to my company, which I founded in a manufacturer's incubator that was started here in Somerset. And I would run the machines in the evening and on the weekend. And during those early years when, at first I didn't have any employees, then I had a few, I would drag family members out there and they would help me package products after I would, fill the adhesives into the tubes. And, we'd kind of get a little group effort. My children used to do sleepovers at the company, because my wife had to work as well to make ends meet. So we'd take a video game and a couple of sleeping bags out, set them up in the office, and they would sleep overnight, have a little basically a camp in, at work while I worked until the wee hours of the morning.
I tell you what people go through to start a business, a lot of people that don't, like the, Ortezio-Cortezes of the world, they just don't get it. I mean, it's really sad, Guy. How did you get through the 2008 meltdown?
The Trib in Pittsburgh did an article because we were actually, our sales went flat during the financial crisis. We really did not go down, so we were fortunate. Mm-hmm. But we were building an expansion on our building, and I had to take out 4 separate loans. Mm-hmm. The Tribune in Pittsburgh did an article on me and how I had to put together 4 separate loan packages in order to pay for the expansion.
Wow. Those of us that have been through the recession with a business like I have, it was a pretty dark time. We lost everything, as I've shared the story. The day the bank called me, and I dealt with a very local bank, and they had auditors coming in, and I guess their balance sheet was upside down or not. It didn't meet the ratios. And the guy called
Right.
me up on Thursday morning, like 10 o'clock, and said, "Hey, John, I got bad news. Your line of credit, which is like is $50,000, which covered my payroll because I didn't always have the cash." He said, "We're cutting that to $5,000." And I'm like, "Well, I can't meet payroll tomorrow." He's like, not my problem. I mean, I got to do what I got to do. Just wanted you to know. It's like, okay. So, I mean, all the things went on. Guy Berkebile, the owner of his company, Guy Chemical. Guy, the tax cut, you went to Congress to testify about the Trump tax cut and how it's affected your business. Can you share that testimony with us?
Sure. Yeah. Now that the Democrats are in charge of the House, they're trying to set the stage that the tax cuts have left the middle class behind and have not benefited. Basically have not benefited people who are my workforce. So they had 6 witnesses to testify for the Democrats, and then, I don't know all the inner workings of politics in the House, but it was 6 witnesses for the Democrats, and then there was me. So I felt like I was a pitcher on a one-man baseball team. Mm-hmm. But I went down there. I took some of my employees and some of the, and actually some of their family members along to, not only show them that I am a business owner who has used the tax cuts money to invest back into my business and into my employees to create more jobs and make their lives better. But here are some of these people who have benefited. You can actually see them. And I'm just not telling you a story that I'm making up. Well,
Guy, this is the issue. First of all, let me thank you for what you've done, and thank you for going to Congress and being a one-man band. But what the Democrats are doing has nothing to do with the middle class and nothing to do with the merits of the tax cut or the economy. What they're doing is basically trying to score a political narrative saying that the Trump tax cuts benefited the rich. And that's
exactly.
That is the biggest fake news lie the Democrats and their lackeys in the fake news legacy media has foisted on the American people now for 18 months. Now the taxes are starting to get done, Guy. It's a whole new deal because, we're in the midst of doing ours, and we are middle class, and we don't make a lot of money in this company, but we have saved enough money in order to buy another radio station because we see the future is better, which means we're going to be hiring people. Which means increased payroll taxes. We just took somebody from part-time to full-time, so now they get benefits. The people that don't create jobs and put out the risk, they don't get it. They just don't get it. They get paid. These people in Congress, they get they get paid $179,000. Half the time, they don't even show up for work. They get all the benefits that go with it. They have no clue. And so it's only the people out there signing the front of paychecks, putting themselves and their families at risk, working like I do. I work an average of about a 17-hour day. That's about my average, right? Because if you can't afford the employees. You have to do all the work, right, Guy? And people don't get this. And so what was there when you gave your testimony and told the subcommittee about how the tax cuts were positively impacting your business and your employees? What was their reaction, Guy?
It was most of them were respectful on both sides of the aisle. The Republicans obviously were very supportive. You remember the yada 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 statement from last week?
Mm-hmm.
That was in our hearing. So the one Democrat congresswoman, just basically wanted to poo-poo or belittle all of the, basically everything that we have built and invested back into our company and what the economy is doing for minorities, the middle class workers like we have at Guy Chemical.
And so basically they didn't want to hear your testimony. Is that what you're saying? Reality?
Yeah, correct. And you go in front of Congress like that and they gave me a little bit of a heads up. For the most part, you're ignored, or I was ignored by the congressman, congresswoman on the left side of the aisle, and then I was held up by the ones on the right side. But what we have done with the tax cuts, you've seen. I'm sure, John, that you've seen the news reports of what the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has meant to the manufacturing sector. 2 months after President Trump was elected,
mm-hmm.
Immediately whenever he was elected,
mm-hmm.
optimism just made a 180-degree turn.
Mm-hmm.
Things started to shoot up through the roof, and then the tax cuts just basically threw fuel on the fire, and
mm-hmm.
we have been going gangbusters. We've been trying to catch our breath for like the last 12 months or so.
Well, what the Congress people, many of them that you testified in front of, Guy, and I appreciate you doing that. We're with Guy Berkebile. He's a founder and owner of Guy Chemical business. He started in '95 with $150,000 of borrowed money and savings. Worked 2.5 years at a loss. 5 years without taking a paycheck. Worked a second job to put food on the table. Great story, but not an isolated story. This is what people do when they start businesses, and they go up and down and take on a tremendous amount of risk. But what these congressmen fail to see is small business owners that have been through this, like us, like you and I, have been through the hard times. When they get a tax reduction, they don't take the money and put it under a mattress. Because they're entrepreneurs anyway. That's why they started a company. So you get extra cash, Guy. What do? You try to expand your business. And what does that mean? That means you're buying things. You're buying equipment. You're hiring people. We just bought new equipment the other day. Why? Because I can write the whole thing off. And when you're operating like we are on a very thin cash flow margin, the fact that you can buy something for $10,000 and write it off immediately, that makes you want to buy it rather than put it off, right? And that $10,000 means that I bought something from a manufacturer who then took that money and invested in something else. And the people you testified for in that subcommittee, the Democrats, Guy, they either don't get it or they don't want to get it, and that's really the issue. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I was in there as somebody from the private sector, telling my story of how I've created jobs and how we're expanding our business. They had their economists, and they had a president of a community college, and then their example of a middle class worker was a school teacher from the D.C. area who can't make ends meet. That's not to me, that's not a private sector job. That was a job that's basically, her salary is determined by a school board who is directly responsible to the taxpayers. So I was having trouble trying to figure out exactly how this lady and her job related back to the tax cuts.
What's your future now, Guy, with these tax cuts? I have a minute. What's your future and the future of your company? What do these tax cuts mean to you?
Well, we are well situated for, I'd say, the next several years going forward. We're not finished investing in our company. We still have some problems keeping up with demand because the economy is so hot. But with all the investing that we've done over the past, little over a year, we have a bigger facility, we have a bigger lab, we have new compounding equipment, we have new packaging lines, and we are now well situated for future growth. We're ready. We're accepting additional orders, and our sales are continuing to go up.
How do you view your future? Last question.
As long as the the tax cuts stay in effect, it is very positive. I'm 57 years old. I've been in business since I was 13 years old. At least working. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I have never experienced a time where there's been more optimism.
All right, Guy. Optimism is going to be the final word. Guy Berkebile, thanks for being with us.